It looks like it's working. Okay, well, this was a bit of a dance to get here, and it's just beautiful because things just were doing themselves, and I don't have a clue how to do it, and somehow. Okay, well, this was a bit of a dance to get here, and it's just beautiful because things just were doing themselves, and I don't. So I just had to get rid of YouTube being on, otherwise I'm hearing myself. So hello, if you're there watching this live or later at some point, hello, finally, here we are. Do we have a choice? Do we have free will about being here right now, speaking, listening, watching, being here? Do we have a choice about this right now? It looks a bit blurry as well. I don't know why, but I will just take 30 seconds to I don't know if that's any better, but hello. Do we have free will? Do we have a choice? Let's get into this. This question has been a debate down the ages. Do we have free will? Is there free will? Yeah, I can see the image is blurry, and that's out of my hands. Yet there is a will to want to do something about that. Do I have control over, is that me choosing that will to want to do something about that? And which me is that? Yeah, so I'm going to share with you just my take on my experience and what I see and what I feel and what I believe, or what comes through, what comes in response to this. So there is a will here that wants to make this image a bit clearer. So I'm going to just follow that for a second. Give me a second. Does it matter if there's nobody here inside this vehicle choosing to do that? Does it matter? You know, often I hear it say, well, I don't have a choice anyway, because who's choosing? I don't have a choice, so I may as well just... But who is it that doesn't have a choice? Right, so my take on this is, first of all, when we ask this question, do we have free will? Do I have free will? Is there a choice? In the first place, what do we mean by I? What do we mean by do I have free will? Is there free will? So maybe you realize, and maybe you're in the process of realizing, that what we actually are is multidimensional. There are many dimensions and levels is not the accurate, it's not accurate, right? It's not that there are levels of us, but as consciousness, there are dimensions. There is the experience of a sense of self here. And when there's a identification with this sense of self, me, my world, my story, my life, me, when there's identification with that sense of self, we call it ego. And from that identification, there is suffering, right? So when we are identified in the egoic level, there is no other thing that's going to happen other than programming, a result of conditioning, reactions and responses as a result of programming and memory and wounding and belief systems, conditioned belief systems. Choices are always going to roll out of that level. When we are identified as this little self that has grown in this story and has all these layers of reactions and responses to the past experiences that now live in the memory body, the choices and the actions and reactions are all going to come as a result of that. So at that level, there's no choice, because the only choice that's going to be taken is a result of that, which is programming, right? So somewhere in our field of being, we all have that aspect, has been part of our development, right? It's the part of, as the child grows, the identification with that sense of self is a natural evolutionary process before the moment comes to search to be free of that, to find freedom, to realize that that's not who I am, that's not me, that's not the real me. Is there a choice about that moment coming? Is there a choice about beginning to search for truth, for freedom, for liberation? Is there a choice about that? It just happens, right? It just happens. And yet you experience it. You experience a moment in the life where something cracks the shell, the prison. Something cracks. There's a crack where seeing starts to come through. There's like seeing, that's not really who I am. And the thirst and the interest to know the truth, to find the truth, to realize the truth. Is that a choice? It's a choiceless choice, right? So really to come to really truly speak of this in truth, from my perspective, it can only be speaking in the paradox. The mind always is working in duality. It's either this or that. I either have free will or I don't. It's this or it's that. It's yes or it's no. It's this. Yet truth itself cannot be spoken, yet can be transmitted through the paradox, which includes both. It's paradoxical. So when we say it includes both, it means it's neither this nor that. It's not of duality. And yet there is something to grok. That can only be got, that can only be seen, that can only be realized, can only be recognized in the space that is free of this or that. Right, so that's the ego level, the ground floor level. There's the choosing is happening through the filter of conditions and reactions and beliefs, false beliefs, conditioned beliefs, all of that, right? So it seems like you have no choice at that level. And then when that starts to crack and you begin to see that actually you don't have to keep on doing that thing that leads to this and leads to that, and you know where it leads, and now you have awareness about it. Now there is awareness about a pattern that can be self-abusive, it can be all that patterns can be, and you see it and you see through it. There appears a choice to go in or not. There appears a choice. There's more free space. Who are you in this free space? So you are definitely in this free space, and you can see there appears a choice. And there are multiple choices from this space of seeing. There are multiple choices and multiple possibilities. So it is not predestined in the sense that you couldn't do anything else but choose that. Predestined with infinite possibility in every step. And depending on where you are in that moment, like if you're in the ego ground floor level, it's your destiny to that what's going to be chosen is programmed. If you're in the space, you have the space to see, and choices become available. There are multiple possibilities in this space. Who is choosing? So, I've heard it said, like people, because, I hold meetings all the time, and people can attend these meetings and they say, well, there's nobody here, there's nobody in this space to make the choice. So I just surrender and let life do me. But from my point of view, that is it can be used as a cop-out, because you are here with multiple choice. You are the one who's here, aware of all these possibilities. You are the one who is conscious. You are consciousness itself. You are consciousness, and there is no individual in there. There is no individual doer in there. So there is an appearance of an individual doer here. There is a wave rising up out of the ocean, which appears to be by itself, this wave appears to be individual and falls back into ocean, but it cannot. It's always ocean. Consciousness is always consciousness. It's always, so the wave that's rising up is always part of all the other waves that are rising and falling. The way the whole ocean is moving. I'll just the way the whole ocean, I'll just turn that off. The way the whole ocean is moving, that wave is going to rise exactly where it does according to the whole movement, right? So no wave is moving by itself without the ocean, right? So the way in which you appear to move as individual is continuously part of the whole. It's part of everything else that's moving. So everything you look at, you are consciousness itself. Consciousness is looking through, has like split itself, let's say, into a billion pair of eyes, just to say something, to give it number, to give it context, to give it a picture. Consciousness looking through a billion pair of eyes everything that you look at, so if you're looking at world events, for an example, everything you're looking at, right? What you look at, by the way you look at it, you change it. Because you, as consciousness, what you focus on is changed by your observation and your interpretation and your intention and your focus. Anything you look at is changed by the consciousness that anything you look at, any person you look at, anything is changed by the way you see it. So the way you see the world and your interpretation and your belief and your opinion and your feeling and your is influencing the world, because the world is a manifestation of consciousness itself. It's a manifestation of consciousness. So when we look at the mess of the world, that mess that we're seeing is a reflection of what's already there in the collective agreements, collective beliefs, collective dysfunction, collective is all being added to by the way you look at it. And that's anything you look at. So, you know, we tend to think of, as a person, as a human, we tend to look at the world out there, and they are doing that world out there. Yet, when we go into deeper discovery and deeper inquiry and deeper realization, there is nothing outside of you. You are the world. You are the whole, experiencing as an individual. You cannot separate from the whole collective consciousness, one consciousness. You cannot separate. So, of course, you've heard it say so many times, if you want to change the world, be the change, you know. Because by the way you be and I be, your world is changed. And that is reflected out there. So let's come back to stay with the original question. Who's choosing? Like, do you have free will? When there's enough awareness to see that there is a choice about behaviors, there is a choice about what you believe into, what you project, when there appears a choice, you experience a choice, make the choice. Doesn't matter if there's nobody here, somebody here, there's an appearance of the choice, make a choice. Because the choice you appear to make, even if it's influenced by a trillion other movements in consciousness, because you never make a choice individually or by yourself, it's always influenced. If you know, just one way of saying it is influenced by what's moving in the sky, the neutrinos, the transits, the planets, that's just one way of saying it, one way of looking at it, that your every moment is being influenced by the whole cosmos. So even when you appear to have the freedom to make the choice, it's still influenced by much more than you as a person. You are the whole consciousness in a movement through the individual. But make your choice from your values, If you value truth, if you value freedom, if you value honesty, if you value love, make your choices according to your value. You are raising consciousness, not only an expanding consciousness, because your small self won't always choose according to those values. Your small individual ego will always choose to protect itself. It's small and so when you make a choice, because there is the appearance of a choice, and you make that choice according to those values, truth, honesty, love, freedom, liberation, your greatest values, you expand as consciousness, and you are raising the consciousness of the whole, which affects the world out there. Because you can't separate yourself. The display on the screen of consciousness as the world is but a reflection of our collective mind, our collective beliefs, our collective. So when we look at the news or the world or the thing, and we go, it's this, it's that, and that, and I'm afraid, and there's fear, and there's that, and there's terror, and there's all of that is adding to the manifestation of the unfolding. You cannot separate yourself. You cannot separate your consciousness from that. So if you've got many, 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 many humans placing those agreements, believed in agreements and feelings and all of that into the field, that is the movement of the next. Right. So, do you have a choice about discernment? Do you have a choice about what to focus on? Will you tell me in this moment, if I say to you, bring your attention to your big toe, your right big toe? Will you do that? Do you experience a choice right now to take your attention to your big toe on the right foot? Do you have a choice to do that or not? And then bring that attention to the back of your head. Do you have a choice about that? Will you or won't you? And who is choosing? So I will say that it doesn't really matter who's choosing. It doesn't matter like if there's a person in here or there's not. That which experiences, I can take the attention right now to the back of my head if I want to, or not, is attention itself. You have the freedom right now to place your attention on the tip of your nose or not, don't you? You do, right? It doesn't matter who's choosing that. The fact is, you have the power of attention. Nothing can take that away from you, you know. And that is something that I discovered while being incarcerated, you know, that nothing could take my smile away. When I eventually found that I had something that nobody could take, nothing, it doesn't matter what they do, they can't take this smile that's inside of me. And then that became a choice. That became my own free will. Did that realization, did that recognition come by itself? Did I choose for that to come? I will say that by the focus of my attention, the focus of my attention was always looking for freedom. So by the focus of my attention, it was revealed. So you have the freedom to place the focus of your attention on the end of your nose right now, regardless. And that which has the free will to choose where to place the attention in this moment is consciousness itself. It's not the ego. It's not an individual who's choosing that, because there is no individual. But you experience it as an individual. So choose. I don't know if anybody's even here, not that there's, you know, nobody exists in the first place, kind of thing. I'm just check YouTube to see if there are any. You know what I did? I put the link. Nobody exists in the first place, kind of thing. I put the link. I'm just check YouTube to see if there are any. I put the link on Facebook and out there, and I couldn't use that link, so it all got a bit. But if you'd like to add a comment, you go ahead right now. I will see it. Yeah, so I don't know if that kind of brings more. It doesn't really give an answer, do we have free will, yes or no? But it does evoke the question, who are you taking yourself to be? And once you know that you are consciousness itself, that has split itself into billions of forms, that's how much freedom consciousness itself has. It is free to put itself in limitation, into suffering, into all experience. That's the freedom of consciousness. It's free, it's already free. So when we recognize who we actually are, what we actually are as consciousness itself, freedom is here. We're free. Free will? But the free will is not of an individual, because there is not, yet it is experienced as consciousness. So you as consciousness have free will, but not as an individual. But you experience it as an individual in relativity. If you like this video, sorry about the mess at the beginning, confusion between programs. Give it a like and share it, or make a comment, and that way it will help the algorithms to spread the word. All beings have the possibility and the possibility to realize freedom, to realize peace. Even there's not peace in the world as we see it, peace is deeply inside of you. Join me on Born to Be Free, the Mighty Networks community platform. You can find a link. I don't know what's happening in the description here because I had to change the link, but it will be in the description somewhere. And I have a live retreat coming up in person. It will be the first retreat in a year in Portugal in April, Easter. And I have a private community. We meet every 2 weeks. It's a private membership community. We meet. It's a very intimate group, and we meet regularly every second Sunday. You can find the link in the description. And I offer individual sessions. So thank you. Let me just check. Oh, it looks like there is a comment or something. Hang on. Check. Is there any difference between what we call free will and the imagination that you could do differently? Is there any difference between what we call free will and the imagination that you could do differently? The imagination is God's play. This that we're living as an individual self is God's imagination. To say God, I mean the essence that gives life to all this, is imagining itself into. So when we use our imagination that is free of, egoic, small self, small world, me, but the freedom of the imagination, the wide open, free field of whatever we can see, whatever we can get in, existence itself is endless possibility. Everything already exists in existence itself, yet we cannot access it if we cannot see it or imagine it, or it's all there, but if we're not awake to it and we can't see it and we can't imagine it, we can't access it. But it's all, every possible experience is in the field already, but not available to you if you cannot imagine it, if you cannot access it through imagination. Is the openness of consciousness dreaming itself into reality. And that's a bit different from the small self egoic imagination, you know. It's same but different. It's we are multidimensional, so whatever dimension we're resting in, being in, that's the capacity we have. But we have lots of capacity on other levels that if we don't access, if we don't expand beyond the small self, they're not accessible. But they're there. It's always been here. Many, levels is not accurate, but expansion of consciousness is always possible, always here now, because it is what you are, it is what I am. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Maybe it doesn't matter, you say, but to who? God gave us free will to think we can either think. God gave us free will to think we can either think or not think. Basically, we have full control of our lives with the creative power that God gave us, and as a man thinks, so is he. The thing is that, you know, from the point of view of man, God gave us, yet from the point of view of realizing that what you are is this godliness, there is no other, there is no separation between what we call God, the isness of existence itself, godliness itself, the essence of life itself. Breathing this body is godliness itself in form. Then the whole idea of God gave us this so that we could, there is no separation. Godliness is the essence of being. It is actually what you are. But that is a way to say it, that God gave us this from the point of view of the separateness, the man, you know. Then we look to something higher that gave us something. In actual fact, upon investigation, upon direct inquiry, upon recognition, there is no God outside of what you actually are. What actually is behind the looking of your eyes is godliness itself, expressing itself through form. It's very beautiful. Yes. When we look through the eyes of man, then, and I absolutely, it's what you say is accurate for me in the sense, as a man thinks, so he is, because that's it, you know. It's what you believe will be your experience. Our Iron Pirate versus Beastman. Welcome. Yeah, 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 beautiful. You know, again, as I said right at the start of this, truth itself cannot really be spoken, but it can be spoken through the paradox. It cannot be contained in the words, yet the words can dance around to create what makes no sense to the mind and yet is recognized from beyond the thinking mind. And there's this recognition of just this direct knowing that already knows itself and is free of, is before thought, during thought, after thought, and free of thought. Thank you for being here. And oh yeah, there's another one. Hang on. So what you're saying is that since we are gods ourselves, God can't really give us anything because we're basically the same as the Creator. This means all the creative forces are within us. Yes, all the creative forces are within us, absolutely. However, in my language, I wouldn't say we are gods, because that implies that there is even, it implies we, as there are many gods, like, no, there's only God. In my language, right? I'm not saying that you are wrong, you're God after all. But in the way of language, in my speaking, I couldn't kind of say we are gods, because it's so tricky. The egoic self will easily pick that up and go, well, I start owning that as an individual position, and it's absolutely not that at all. We have to see the joke again and again and again and again, because the ego will always want to claim it for itself and identify as God. And of course, the ego is an aspect of consciousness that's locked up in a false identification, being expressed by godliness itself, right? Which is the joke. But as you know, and I know, that the ego in its own identification, even if it's birthed by godliness, split off from wholeness, it does become a dangerous thing. And it goes into darkness. It's, goes into complete unconsciousness. And it's not pretty. Yeah. So I would say there is only godliness at the source of all this, and in you and in I, in this form, when we return to source and we meet eye to eye, being to being, there is only that. And this is the creative force. We are creating our experience every single moment. And that can also be taken the wrong way. I had a comment on one of my videos recently where somebody was quite angry when they heard me say something like that, because immediately kind of took it like, yeah, then you're saying that I, abused people are, those who have been abused have created it themselves, and it's there is a lot of suffering on our earth, and is it individually created? there is no individual. However, there is an individual expression, and we all have, you have, I have an individual expression, and how we are projecting our consciousness into the world, we are adding to the collective. Every moment. So it doesn't really help to get emotionally charged about what's going on out there on the world platform, on the world screen. It doesn't really help to get, terrified or super angry, or it just doesn't help. What helps is as we change ourselves and we see things more and more and more for what they are. There's no one person out there doing, it's a collective. I read something recently, I can't remember where I read it, but I read something recently, thank you Wilma, thank you Ida, thank you. I read something recently that expressed something like this, like Hitler could only get away with what he got away with because enough people turned around and said, turned away for long enough saying, not my problem. Like the parts of the world that it wasn't affecting turned around and went, not my problem, not my problem, not my problem, and turned away. And he could get as far as he did because so many turned a blind eye until he actually became so powerful that he created a world war and got away with as much as he did. But that was a collective thing. It wasn't one man doing that. He could not get away with all that without the agreement of so many going, not my problem. So it's everything that's going on, whatever we want to say about presidents we either like or don't like, or decisions, political, this, that. It's not one person, it's not one decision maker, it's not one, there are so many involved in every movement of every. So if we experience an individual movement within that, and if you knew that everything you look at and everything you speak about, you are influencing through your consciousness, whether you have free will or not, what will you choose? To empower, to ignite. The qualities of what you choose to focus on, what are they aligned to? And the closer that we get to truly aligned to our values, like my values, truth, love, peace, freedom, unity, all that goes with that, the closer you get to who you really are. Because who you really are can only choose like that. Yeah. There is a story about Jesus, and I believe a king asked him a question, and he asked him, what is a man? And Jesus replied, man is truth and falsehood, strangely mixed, higher self, lower self. Yes, yes, and a miracle at that. We have free will, but there can be negative karma associated with it, and having to reincarnate to experience degraded circumstances, or maybe hell. Well, reincarnation, you don't have to wait for another lifetime. It's every single moment. It's every single moment. Karma is alive now in every single moment. So it's not like you have to come back and get another body and live out and da-da-da. It's in this lifetime. You know, it's cause and effect. You see it all the time. It's in what you're living now. Every moment is, you are either reincarnating a pattern that has been played 1,000 times, and every time it plays out again, and you see it, you're like, I've seen this pattern before, and here I am in the middle of it. You have an opportunity. Within that, there's an opportunity to see, and once you can see, there appears a choice. There appears a choice, and when there appears a choice, make that choice. And will that choice be in more harmony with your truest values, not the values of the ego, but of your being? Or will you perpetuate the reinforcing structures of self-identity that keep you from feeling pain and remaining in pride and all those things? Because when you do that, you are bound to experience the same thing again, because it will keep on coming with another opportunity. You know, and once we can see how it works, consciousness opens. And there appears a choice. I say there appears a choice. To who? To whatever is here experiencing this moment that has the choice to focus on the end of your nose or not. So thank you. It appears in me right now that this is a moment to return to quiet. Thank you for being here, for your interest, your engagement, and if you like this expression, please do the thing, like the thing, subscribe, share, and spread this message in every way you can. Yeah. Join me live in person in Portugal for a retreat, and if you can't, join me online. I have a Living Awake community, a very small group. We meet constantly every 2 weeks, and it's very, very deep and delicious. Yeah. So, thank you. I recognize you as my own self. Bye for now.